Welcome back to Whitt Acres. We are going to be doing a garden tour across the property and show you what's looking good this time of year. If you're new here, I'm Cody, this is Echo, and we're gardening here at my family home of 4 acres in Zone 6A. I started gardening, this will be my 4th year gardening here. There's only a few things on the property here that my dad did not plant, so from where he left off, I'm expanding the garden into a botanical paradise here in the backyard. Come along and see how it progresses. I have the garden split up into different sections, but starting off here in the side garden, we have a nice mature blooming rhododendron with one back tucked in there as well. This is I believe an Austrian stone pine. Not 100% sure, but it has a nice multi-branch structure. Below that we have a King Solomon seal that's coming into bloom. It's not very showy, but I like the foliage next to the hostas that are also variegated. It'll blanket out this whole area here. This garden is fairly young, as I said, so you'll have to look past some of the younger things and see how it'll fill in the future. We have a Chinese snowball viburnum here that's just putting on a show back here. I was able to pull out a volunteer from this plant, so we'll see that later in the vegetable garden. I put in a Gold Rider Leland cypress next to this post. Hopefully I can get some yellow evergreen foliage here. The wild phlox is also blooming in here. It's the only place on the property that we actually get some nice wild phlox, white and purple. So I'll come in here and cut some of that for an arrangement. We also have this beautiful rhododendron on this side. All the bees are on it right now. We have a bunch of bumblers, we got the honeybees, little bees, and a bunch of ants too. On the other side of those rhododendrons, we have a beautiful white azalea that's coming out of full bloom right now. This year it put on its best show it's ever done that I can remember. I pruned it last year and it was just covered in blooms. I'll put up a photo and it looked really good. I just had to wait until the rhododendrons came into full bloom to get the garden tours started. Up here next to the greenhouse, we have some irises coming into full bloom, which is just a new color on the property. So it has a nice burgundy tongue with the yellow throat. It's pale yellow color. It's kind of like a old Renaissance color scheme there to me. There's some lilies that will be coming up in the back there, but these irises have a ton of buds to keep coming off. Just taking a peek in the greenhouse, you can see we still have to put out all my peppers and tomatoes. We still have a bunch of flowers in there, and the squash, actually I'll show you, had some birthdays today. Happy birthday, pumpkin. And I think we had some big pumpkins got born. Happy birthday, pumpkins. You get the seed shell off of them and they can open up and get big. I'm a little late starting these pumpkins and gourds, but they like the hot weather, so once they get started here they should really just take off. They won't have that stunted time whenever the nights are getting kind of cool. Because I believe we're still going to have a night here soon that's going to drop right around 40 degrees, and some of these tropical plants won't like that. Now there is a lot more irises to show you on the property here, because we got some new colors that are finally opening up because I got them planted just last year, so they weren't mature enough to flower at that time. But I'm going to bring you down to the vegetable garden and show you what progress we made from last year and show you what it's looking like, because I really like the way it's looking right now. So the vegetable garden has a different look to it. I built a new entry gate trellis, and I had built it out of some fence posts, some wood that we just had. Also had that lantern up there from my grandma's house. And then I used some pruned maple branches that we got from all the maples out in the south garden that we just put in. We'll get back to there. But I just used the branches and cut them off and weaved them all together to make a nice little gate here. The only thing I bought was the hinges there. They're spring-loaded hinges, so I don't have to latch it shut. I can just open it and it'll swing itself back shut. So I think that works pretty well. I also used the maple branches to create the trellises going up the sides, and that will be for a climbing plant that I still have to figure out what I want to use. But for this year I might just leave the wood look on it because I don't want to cover it up. I might as well appreciate the wood look for this year, and then when I find a nice climbing plant that I want to put on here, then it can fill it out and cover the whole thing. But I just like the way it turned out. Now coming into the garden, you'll see that it's not perfectly manicured or pruned or I actually mulched it all, ready to go, but there's a lot of infrastructure going on. As you can see, we also got the fence all the way around the garden, and my dad helped me put the gates on as well just the other night. So that's all good there. I still have to finish the fence on the back side of the garden and connect it over. I was able to get that flower bed all mulched out along the fence line there before the grass really started growing, so that's good to go. We'll show that. I did get some hostas planted in here just to show some life in here. And some dianthus just coming into bloom. They're small plants and they're young, but they still have a ton of buds on them. We have weeds all growing through here. My maintenance is a little bit behind schedule right now because of all the expansions that I'm doing, so I hope I can catch up to it before it gets too out of hand and actually get some things mulched. That'll help out. The wild bell hyacinth is just finishing up. It's nice that that one's finishing because the dianthus is coming into bloom right now for a trade-off. Oh, puppy. Sorry, bud. I didn't know you were trying to get in, bud. Come on. It'll also stay right there because the ground elevates, so I gotta let puppy in. I don't know where he's going. Over towards the compost. But anyway, the daffodils come into bloom, and then the hyacinths came into bloom. And now the wild bell hyacinths are blooming, and as they finish up, the dianthuses are starting to show color. So that's really nice. I like the little bird bath I just picked up. It has a little pineapple on the bottom. I like pineapples, and I like putting water in everywhere around here. There's also some lilies in there, but they're not blooming. This is the baby Chinese snowball viburnum that I was able to dig up and transplant away from the other big one. So hopefully that will grow nice and big along the fence line here and leave a lot of color. My chives from last year are blooming, and I love purple, so I'm leaving them go as long as I can. Hopefully I can cut these down before they drop a ton of seed and ruin my garden. My asparagus has all leafed out and got real, not leafed out, but it got real tall. And my dad really enjoys picking the ends off of these and just eating them raw. They have a pretty green flavor, but they are really tasty. The purple one, purple night asparagus, is even better. You can see all the ends of this is all ripped off. Below that, we have some peas that were blooming. Yeah, there's a bloom. Some peas that are blooming down here, so that's nice to see. They're starting to climb up there. If you watched our high density planting video, this is the update because it is looking full. It worked out really well. The only thing that didn't actually come up is my spinach. I didn't get any spinach germination at all, so I'm gonna have to start some red Malabar spinach because it's already too hot for regular spinach. The lettuces are doing great. I'd like to harvest these, but I was waiting for the tours so I could show them off looking really nice. We also have, I believe these were parsnips or turnips, beets, radishes, which I already harvested a bunch of radishes last night. I even got them out of the cold frame as well. More radishes, more radishes. We like radishes. And then the carrots were pretty spotty germination. I'm not real good at sowing carrots yet, and I didn't put a ton of effort into it. So we'll see what carrots I actually get, but there's also a Brussels sprout chilling in the corner right there. Down here in the vegetable strip, I just put in some squash volunteers. I don't even know what they are. They could be cucumbers, zucchini, yellow crookneck squash. It could be a few different things. It could even be pumpkins. Well, they're not pumpkins, they're a squash. But yeah, I just plugged in a few of these to see if they take because I'm waiting on my seeds that I sown for this to take. So if I can get some volunteers to grow, they'll be ahead of my seeds that I sowed. So might as well try it because it's empty otherwise. And the pumpkin patch is just horrible. I need to spray all that dead so I can get in there and put a nice layer of compost in and actually get one of them or a few of my pumpkins started. I really messed up this year and killed all my giant pumpkin seeds that I got from Worldwide Giant Growers. They were really nice pumpkin seeds, and I just forgot about them during the germination. We got a lot going on here on the property, and that actually slipped my mind. So it's really unfortunate, but I'm still going to try and grow some pumpkins this year, but I won't be able to grow the really strong genetics that I could have grown. I also need to spray off the squash mound and get all that killed back so I can get that ready for planting. This straight bed still needs to get moved over there so I can fill it up with that pile of compost and get it planted out. Down here by my empress tree, the trunk did survive. but it didn't survive tall enough, I don't think. It's not leafing out, and it should be leafing out already. So you can see I left one go, and it's already getting nice and strong. I'm gonna pinch off all of these side shooters. I don't need any branching. I want it to get tall. So I'm gonna let that shoot up. There's another backup one behind it I'm leaving go for now, but I'll probably break out one off here soon. I got this area kind of composted, so it's looking kind of pretty. We have some white irises that are still blooming. These have been going on for a while. Just the faintest little bit of yellow in those. They're nice little irises. I have a progression of things down here too. The daffodils are first. There's hyacinths as well. Wild bell hyacinths, irises, lilies, and then there's a peony over here as well. We have another color of, this is that same color by the greenhouse, and it is putting on a lot of blooms. We also have a hosta down here. It'll put up some shoots and some daylilies. So this is covered in a wide variety of perennials that will bloom throughout the season. A puppy. Got some new trees down here, a honey locust and a autumn blaze red maple that I plan on plugging in right where they sit, hopefully later today before the storm comes. Now to the jade bed. I'll try and keep this quick because there's not a lot going on. Just got it planted out the other day. But I have some marigolds in the front for color, a sunflower that volunteered I plugged in there. And then it starts out with about 2 dozen cabbages, Copenhagen market cabbage and Danish ballhead cabbage. I also have some onions just plugged in between there, bunching onions, Tokyo bunching onions. We also have broccoli, about 12 broccoli here with a fennel or 2 plugged in. There's more marigolds on that side, an artichoke in the corner, and then there's a bed of leeks right there. Just maybe 12 leeks because we don't eat them a lot, but I do like to try some recipes with the leeks. My bed of garlic's looking really nice. I put some compost in between there to help fertilize because they're heavy eaters. There's a couple fennel over here as well. There was even a volunteer fennel that I plugged in. And then this is all Walla Walla onions, Patterson white, red wing, and I think another white onion that I can't think of right now. White sweet Spanish. Yeah, okay, so, and then some more marigolds as well for color. I like to try and keep the prettiness in the vegetable garden as well. So the vegetable garden is not full yet, but I think it's looking pretty good if you look at it at the right angle. Hey puppy, you find some shade, buddy? Let's go look at more irises. Okay, now we're gonna head over to what I call the island garden because it is completely surrounded by yards. So it's pretty much an island of flowers. At the very tip of the peninsula of the island, we have the fire pit, stack of wood, and the hostas are coming up. Now there's another variation of perennials here. You'll see pretty common now on this mound you'll see another variation of perennials that will bloom throughout the season. So you'll see that repeating across the property because I'd like to split up my perennials and spread them so I can get a full consistent amount of color across the whole property during the blooming season. So this mound has hostas going down the whole mound. I believe there is 7 of them and they're looking nice and big this year. But what's blooming right now is the allium. So we have some purple allium blooming. It's actually finishing up so it's not as bright. But there's purple allium going down the whole mound as well. And coming up right behind it right now is white allium. So the white allium for some reason blooms after the purple. And you can see all those clusters of flowers getting ready to open. So we have this pink iris here and it's real ruffly, is that the word? And just looks real soft. It's real shiny, has a nice color to it. And then we have some more vibrant colors here. A very sparkly purple with some veining, and then a nice yellow with a darker yellow throat. They just have such structure to the flower. These are really nice. That one's putting up a few blooms. We also have another one putting up the same color right beside it. Behind that, this one opened up yesterday, and it is a nice orange. Very deep, and if you can look inside that, you can just see all the pretty structure that it puts out. And as I said, these are all young. I just got this island peninsula here together last year, and I got it all put in place to where all I have to do is plug in a few annuals to fill in the late season gaps. But for the most part, once the allium starts out here, it'll bloom all season long. On the back side of the mound, you can see some bigger clumps of iris, and you can see those ones are going to be all yellow. So we're going to have a bright punch of yellow on the back side as those irises come in as well. And I do like the natural look, so coming out in the stone you can see how the iris is spread, and I do thin these out, but I still leave some in there to show the look because I like the way it looks. With a bright punch of color down here, this little succulent is just on fire. Look at this thing. It's such a pretty flower and they're so tiny. The leaf just covers them up. But we had 2 of these. Bub stepped on one, so we're down to 1, but it's spreading out and I like it right there. Another early bloomer is this periwinkle vine that I trained last year to run the border of the stones. It's doing really well right now. Oh, I need to get water in my bird bath. It's gonna be warm today. It's gonna storm later. But the periwinkle vine starts here in the corner, and I ran it around the whole border there. And then it comes to a variegated vine that I ran down the pathway. It's also periwinkle purple vine as well, but it's just variegated leaf. So it's looking good coming along the pathway here. So if you look here, you can see the garden is filling up with weeds, and if we don't get it mulched pretty quick, it's gonna be real bad. But we have some ferns coming up next to the hyacinths that just finished, so I can cut these back. We saw those in the first blooms tour that we did. This is a painted Japanese ghost fern that's just getting started. We have some hostas varying colors from green and blue, white and green, lime green, and then we have the Lenten rose that's dark green, and we have some heucherellas down there, or heucheras, that are red and dark purple. Back behind here we have an Empress Wu hosta coming up nice and large this year. And the columbine is putting on a show. This is a very nice purple, real deep purple, and it blooms for a long time. It's been blooming for a good couple weeks now and just barely finishing up. I'm hoping this one spreads out, so I let it go all the way to seed, and hopefully it spreads out through this woodland garden in here. Coming to the end of the path, we find some more purple irises that are just looking really nice. Real nice purple on these with the yellow throat. This is looking a lot better since I was able to pull it out from underneath the arborvitae last year. Then on this side of the path we have a deep purple, almost black iris, which I didn't even know I had this one. I did get a lot of these irises from another garden and friends where I didn't know what color they were, so it's nice to see that them coming into bloom this year, that this one is a new color for the property. The island garden is looking pretty good right now with the rhododendron coming into full bloom. The backside is a little barren, but I like it that way where it's just a rest. There's only a few things in here. Like down here I planted some astilbe that'll be coming up later this year. We also have a Love Lies Bleeding heart, and it didn't bloom this year, but it was young, so we'll give it another year. Behind the lilies, a fern is popping up, which another hosta in the back. I just speckled a few things. There's an azalea in there also that's young that'll put on some color later. And then we have a yucca, a tree marigold, and a big line of daylilies. There's plenty of color to come this season, and a lot of things are looking like they're getting big and healthy. Now I also have an island over here that I call the food forest. It is a very young food forest, so it's not very foresty. You can see it's wide open. But the berry bushes are putting on flowers, and hopefully I'll get some berries this year. But I just have to be patient with this area. I did plug in some new trees, but I've lost some trees too last year over the winter. So we'll just see how this goes. I'll give some updates as there's things to see in there. But just for color, I've left some chives just blooming in a couple little batches over here in the food forest. That also helps the pollinators out. And over in my herb garden from last year, they're also blooming. So it gives something for the pollinators. There's my honeyberry. If you ever wanted to see what Tokyo long bunching onions look like when they flower, they are massive. Look how big this thing is. They're just putting on a lot of flower buds. I'm just seeing what they do because I left them in, so I might as well let them go to seed and try and collect the seeds. So I'm letting them flower, and we'll see if I can get the seeds before they all drop. Right beside that is a valerian that's about to go to flower, putting on some clusters right now. Something came over, and probably a deer or something, snapped the top off thinking it was food. Puppy's walking down my 100 feet of potatoes that I got planted in a recent video. Oh no, that can't be a potato coming up already. Maybe. The azaleas died back. The deer came and ate them, but they're regenerating. So the azaleas, this one's even blooming. Nice little white one. They're young, so it's going to take them a while to put on a nice flowering hedge for the pollinators to bring them into the food forest in the early spring. But we'll have to give those time as well. Now we're coming over to the pergola garden, which I'm trying to make it a jungle theme this year, but I haven't even started. So right now it's a little barren, but we have some flowers coming up, which just opened today. So let's go check those out. Here we have a heavenly blue something. I forget what it is really, but it was a lot darker, deeper, truer blue at the store. So I probably have my pH a little bit different than they did, which I just threw it in the ground. I didn't actually do any research on it, but it's blooming right now. And they're nice little clusters of flowers. I don't know how long this will last. We'll just have to watch it and see how it does. We have a lily right there that's popping up. It's kind of funny. Light green, dark green. Check out this peony. It is beautiful. It has nice size to it. It has really nice color. It's like pale pink around the outer ring. Let me focus. It has really nice color. It's like pale pink around the outer ring, creamy white for the main part, and then speckles of red in the center, almost like a Queen Anne's lace with a blood dot. They are looking gorgeous. Got the ants on them, which supposedly open them up, but I also heard that's a myth. Either way, it's a symbiotic relationship. These just smell beautiful, so I'm loving them right there. And it has kind of a jungle style leaf, so it'll work out here. Nice early flower too. And it survived bub digging it up this winter and freezing the roots out. The trellis is coming along. We got the archway almost around the top already, going out to the hanger. So it goes up the pole and all the way across. It's doing a lot better than it did last year. I've already pruned this 3 times this year. This is such a fast growing vine, it's hard to keep up with. But I'm hoping I can get it to come down this side and fill in this a little bit better than it does now. And there's a lot of things on the property that I miss going around the garden tours because I'm trying to talk fast, but there's a lot of things that just pop out as little flowers that just add a spot of color, and I really enjoy those. That's why I plugged that one in there. It doesn't do much, but it is just a spot of flower that adds a little cheeriness to the area as you walk by. We got a lot of volunteer calendula coming up here, so I'm leaving those go, and some of them I'm going to relocate. I plugged in some hostas over here as well whenever I did the hanger line, so that'll be a nice color of purple during the summer as long as they're old enough. They might be too young. And then we have a coneflower echinacea over here that should put on a nice little color, real tall flower, and look good this year. Hey rooster. Okay, now we're gonna head out to the front garden, which there isn't too much to show you, but one specific area, the hosta bed, is looking really nice, so we're gonna check that out. This is my oldest dianthus. So you saw the ones in the garden. This one is big. It is just a blanket of blooms, which I am loving, sitting right here on the driveway corner. It looks beautiful. Then we have a bunch of volunteer annual burning bush coming up, that bright lime green color, which almost looks like grass. It's also coming up all over the hemlock ring. I just put that wagon wheel there this year and I'm loving it. But you can see I had it there last year and now it is volunteering all the way around the ring just as planned. So hopefully I can keep that weeded down enough until the burning bush rises up and snuffs out the other weeds, and it'll look good this year. Not quite in full bloom yet, but we have the red azalea just starting its bloom, so make sure you subscribe down below because this is a beautiful plant when it comes into full bloom. But here off the front porch is what I wanted to show you. We have the nice pansies up there and on top of the well. And then the hosta bed is doing great this year. It's really filling out. I have the varied kind of hostas in here. We have kind of a lime green, but it's kind of a dull green. It's not like the bright lime green down here. So it's a duller green, and then the variegated with the white tips, and then the blue tipped, I don't know what they call that, but it has the green with the darker green, almost bluish edges. I have another one over here, a fern in the back corner. Now this one's more yellow with the blue edges, so I like having the different kinds of colors popping up through here. Not the weeds though, come on, get the root out of there. And that frames out the big old Empress Woo, which is on its 3rd year from bare root. So it's finally doing its full potential. And yeah, it'll just keep getting bigger. And in front of that is the variegated hostas, and these will all bloom purple, I believe. So that's going to be very nice for over here. Coming down the line, we have a beautiful pink rhododendron that is probably going to have to get moved because I want to put a big old ornament of grass in this area to block the propane tank. So I might have to move that somewhere else, but it's putting on a nice bloom show right now. Then we have the lime green hostas, which brighten up this little corner here very nicely. Coming down to the little tongue we have here, the purple passion rhododendrons blooming beautifully. I love this color, I love this rhododendron, and it's just latent in blooms right now. It's nothing to complain about. Maybe the dead branch right there, but it's looking pretty good. I got it composted to help give it some nutrients. And we have 2 astilbe and a hosta there to finish off the tip. Without going over there, we can see my Royal Empress tree leafing out right now. The Palamonian telephone pole. Without going over there, we can see my Royal Empress tree leafing out beautifully all the way to the top. Even a bird in there. But it is leafing out all the way to the top, so I'm not going to be pruning this tree this year. I'm going to let it go and get big so it can cover that hilltop over there where the road and power lines are. I am expanding the garden over here in the front as well. I am bringing it out from the fence line into the yard and back to the perennial garden. You can't really see a lot because there's a lot of weeds going in here right now, but I took a volunteer butterfly bush and plugged it in here. I got a blue cedar atlas right now framing in, and then I have a Cleveland flowering pear down here. Those will be the framing plants because this red bud reset. It died all the way back to the middle, so I had to switch it out with a faster growing tree, and I'll find a new place for this red bud. We also have more irises. This looks like it's going to be a different color. This one is the burgundy and pale white, which is just a nice color to me. Deep in the weeds here we can find the actual phlox that I bought, which is a woodland phlox, and it's blooming beautiful purple. This is also a phlox that I planted here a year or 2 ago, and it's not blooming, so I'm not sure what's up with that. The barberry has such a beautiful color this time of year. So does the mountain purus, bright red. And there's a bunch more peonies ready to open around the property as well, so stay tuned and come back next week to see all those. I had a red one on the other side of the perennial garden last year, and it died whenever the maple tree fell on it, but this yellow one we bought last year is blooming nice this year. Hopefully we can keep this going because I do like the Scotch broom plant. My grandma liked this plant, so I'm trying to keep one on the property alive and going. This is a butterfly magnet too. It's actually called Madam Butterfly Scotch broom. So hopefully I can keep this one alive. Okay, we are going to finish up the tour around the pond. Now the pond's not finished, but there are some perennials, and actually my favorite bush on the entire property is here by the pond. So we're going to check this out. Puppy is on the ramp, so we call this the ramp bed, and it has some beautiful purple irises. This is a different one. This is nice purple with white, so it is punchy and eye-catching. So looks really nice as a background there. Has more blooms coming as well. I have a zinnia, a portulaca, some French dwarf marigolds plugged in, and some annual dahlias I got in there yesterday. We also have some hostas in here framing out a daylily. And then we have spiderwort intermixed with another hosta, which the spiderwort's coming into bloom. I like this plant because the spiderwort is actually mixed in with the hosta. Keeps it pretty contained, and they both bloom together. Behind that we have the penstemon that I just put in this year, and it is beautiful with this dark burgundy foliage. Little red bugs all over it, but it is blooming really nice, and the bees have been coming constant to this thing. What are you doing, puppy? It's a hot day out here. You know, we're trying to get this tour done before the storm comes. It's always hot and humid before the rain comes. So next to the cold frame, which I harvested a bunch of radishes out of there yesterday, we have the columbine and the lupin just blooming beautifully. The columbine's been blooming for a while now, a couple weeks, and it's just starting to lean out, as you can see, giving up. But this is a plant that I put in, a bare root that I put in 2 years ago. So this is its 3rd year, and it already had a baby. So I'll be able to transplant this baby columbine over to the island garden and start filling in that area. I only want the one specimen columbine here on the bank of the pond because we don't want it spreading out. I fill this area in mainly with annuals. So I just want a couple punchy perennials to start blooming before I'm able to get my annuals in. Speaking of, look at this. Look how beautiful this plant is. I just don't know any other plant that looks this good. It has so many colas, and it has every color from light pink to dark blue. It just keeps on impressing. All the way around, this plant has so many tops on it. It looks good the whole time. It has nice little open shells going all the way to the top. They last in a vase too for a decent amount of time. And then they change colors. So as it goes deeper into the summer, this will lose a lot of its strength, I guess, and start turning into a paler and paler color for the last amount of blooms. And it's just a really nice show. You can see the bees on it. They just keep coming. There's also a bunch of little pollinators on here as well, but this is just one magnificent plant. For those of you that don't know, I am putting in a massive waterfall and pond here on the center of the property. I'm building this pretty much all myself with a massive amount of help from my dad every chance he gets. So we're plugging along as fast as we can. We have it pretty much stoned out to this point that you're seeing here. And then yesterday we even got the whole side wall on the back field side stoned out to the filter bay. I have some lilies in here that you can see is actually blooming. This is the oldest blooming plant known to the world, the ancestor of the water lily. It's believed to be the first plant to ever bloom. So we have some lilies in the pond already, and it's not even finished. I'm just trying to keep them alive until I can get the pond finished so I can plant them in my water lily garden box, especially made for them. But the pond is coming along, and I'm already planting it out because I just can't wait to make it look good. So another perennial is this gladiola that I have here. It puts on a beautiful show in the summer. I just plugged in this baby little hosta volunteer. We have a hosta down there on that side that puts on some color, and then we have some Asiatic lilies back there. There's just a little bit of color here set by perennials that I don't have to work for. And then I just fill in the rest with different annuals, so it's a new show every single year. We have some creeping Jenny here that's probably going to be a perennial as well. But then I plugged in a Jaguar marigold. We have some annual dahlias, some volunteer someone left their pot in here. It's probably me. I'm the only one that plants. We have some volunteer sunflowers, which I'm going to leave in there. And then I put big zinnias on the back side. I put some annual dahlias all through here, nice drift. And then around this focal point stone, I did a whole bed of portulaca that'll hopefully fill in like a carpet. Beside that is actually a buddleia, so that'll be a nice perennial flower right there, butterfly bush. Another little grouping of zinnias in this corner. And then my plan is to fill in all the open spaces with purple wave petunias. I really like the purple, so we're gonna try and keep that purple. And then I was thinking I might try and do something behind that log, so there's something that's just like popping up and you can just barely see it behind that log all the way across. we'll see if I can find something that works there, but just trying to get this pond starting to look good while we're still in construction of it. We still have a little bit of time left here. We got to rock out this whole left side going down, and then we have to work on the whole beach and intake bay area over there. So we're getting as much done as we can get it done. So go over to our Whitt Acres Aquatics channel if you're interested in seeing the process of building the pond out here. Did end up getting the proven winner 4 new roses for the rose bed here. I'll be switching out these roses that we just haven't been getting the right show from. I pruned up the clematis, had to string up the trellis here because that smooth metal is not strong, or the clematis can't grab to it, so I had to string that up to get the clematis to climb. But I'm going to be redoing this whole rose bed here once we get the gutter fixed. So as you can see, whenever it rains, the gutter just downpours and floods over and destroys all the mulch and soil in this area. So I don't want to plug in my nice new roses that I've got here for my mom without fixing the gutter first. The daffodils and the hyacinths are finished. You can cut those out, but check out these colors. This is the Oh So Easy Urban Legend. We have the Oh So Easy Lemon Zest and the Paprika. And this one is not blooming yet, but it is the double pink. It's coming soon. We got ducklings on the property, and Mumbles the goose. Hey Mumbles. If you're interested in seeing any of the animals we have on the property, you can go over to our Whitt Acres Homestead channel and check out that one, or our Whitt Acres Nature at Home channel. You can see them on both. And yep, Echo Pup's good with the birds, aren't you, puppy? Like all the dianthus blooming in between the blue fescue. It's looking beautiful. Okay, that is all for this one. If you enjoyed the tour, go subscribe down below. Hit that like button before you leave. You can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching.